All right, so I already traced out the outside and the inside of this template, like I mentioned. And then I already cut out the outside of the tree. And if you wanted to keep it a solid, you could just stop there. Now, like I mentioned, I snipped into the bottom like you saw, and then I start to cut around the curves of the inside. Now, here's the other beautiful thing about this. Once we cut this out, we're actually going to get two trees, right? We're going to get the outside ring tree and then the inside ring or inside tree that will come from that as well. And so you can incorporate that, again, two places on your page with when you're designing with the two templates. So pretty simple. So basic cutting tips here. I know I kind of go in and out. I apologize for that. That was late in the evening. But just small, short, quick cuts is always just the key. And you just kind of, bring your hand and adjust that back and forth. Sorry, we have a friend that's joining us. Hold on. Let me, I forgot that she did that in the video. So, okay, so let's get back at it. So basically, you're just going to finish that inside cut and go back to your starting point. So now you have two trees from that, cutting that inside out. Then we are going to ink the edges. And you'll notice that I have pencil lines. I always do, always. So I always share that just simply because if you have pencil lines, you're not alone. I have just learned that inking always does the trick. So I don't focus on them. I just know that I'm going to ink right over them. Now, this is a pretty thin piece to ink, so I definitely had to slow down a little bit more when inking these edges. But for the most part, that's the steps, right? You trace, cut, ink, and then replace it with your page and with your beautiful memories that you're scrapbooking. So I feel like the inking was a little bit more tedious, tell you the truth, than the cutting. So don't let the cutting intimidate you, by all means. And then, yes, I inked the edges of the inside tree that I got from that cut as well, because I think inking is worth it, even though I said it's tedious sometimes. It just gives it a nice finished look. All right, so let's go to adding some modeling paste to this template design. So what I do is I traced the outside edge of my tree onto my scrap of paper that you see here. And I decided not to cut out this tree first. I was going to add the modeling paste on top, let it dry, and then cut it out. So that was just my preference for this specific design, kind of what I was feeling, thinking it would be easier. And it really was not that hard. I just feel like it would, you could do it on a mat, but it just kind of kept it clean, basically. And where I'm going over the edges, that's all going to be trimmed off. So I wasn't too worried about, letting modeling paste go off the edges of the trees. I just added a nice thin coat to the top designs of that. So this is just basic white modeling paste and a little plastic sponge. It's Nuvo brand on that sponge. It works great. You could probably find a cheap one at the dollar store if I was being honest. But that's basically all that it really is a little spatula. Not a sponge, sorry, spatula. So of course I gave it a nice coat. At this point, you would let it dry before pulling it up, but I like to wash my templates while it's still wet. And so I decided, because it's kind of a bigger template, I'm just going to pull up from the corner and lift upwards. So by lifting upwards, it helps, avoid smearing. And then I just run it under warm water using a paper towel, and it cleans off really nicely. You, of course, can still clean it after the fact. It just will clean off in warm water. But like I said, I like to do it when it's wet. It just simplifies it just a little bit more. But it just depends on how confident you feel with pulling it up. I felt pretty confident, and so I just kind of went for it. All right, so once that was dry, then I detached it from my paper, And then now I'm going to cut out the outside edge of my tree. Like I said, where you kind of have that excess that was from that, I just, used my guidelines that I traced on there and cut around whatever was overlapped there from when I was putting on the modeling paste. Also, if it happens to have a little bit there, now granted I'm going to ink the edges, but if it did, it would just look like little snow speckles or something if you were using white, that is. Because you can use all different colors. You can mix a little bit of acrylic paint with your white, and it could be gold, it can be red. Just depends on what colors you're scrapbooking with and want that detail to be if you're using modeling paste. So it could be a lot of fun, and you can customize it to your liking. Whoops. Now I'm inking the outside edge just to add again a little bit of detail. And then I think there was a little few places that I had a little specks of modeling paste on the outside edge. But once I added the ink to it, just kind of blended in any little specks there was. Well, make sure to check out the idea book for more ideas on how to use these adorable trees. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate, let us know in the comments.